Welcome back to English Spoken Stories. I'm Arya, and this is your 1-hour weekly English lesson. This lesson will help you improve all areas of your English: speaking, reading, writing, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Let's get started. First, let's focus on your English speaking skills. I'm going to explain 10 bad speaking habits that I commonly see students make. I'll share how you can avoid these habits so you can appear more professional and confident when speaking in English. Now, before we start the lesson, I want to ask for your feedback on this style of lesson. What I'm doing is taking individual lessons that I've posted and combining them into one weekly lesson. This way, you have all the individual lessons in one place. You can download it and review it anytime. If you're going for a long drive or walk, you have this one lesson. Let me know if you like this format or if you'd prefer something different. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's improve your speaking skills. The first bad habit is using one-word answers. Let's say you were at a conference, and your boss asks you, "How was the conference?" and you reply, "Good, great, awesome." What do you notice about these answers? They're all one-word responses. Now, it might seem a little comical to think that's all you would say. But I hear this from students all the time. I'll ask them about their vacation, perhaps a 2-week vacation in another part of the world, and all they say is, "Good, great, okay, not bad." These are very short answers. This doesn't sound very professional. And you certainly don't sound advanced in English. An easy way to solve this problem is to answer in complete sentences. For example, repeat the question, "The conference was good." Now, while that's a complete sentence, it's still not enough information. You can expand on that by providing reasons or examples. For instance, "The conference was good because I met a lot of new people in my field and made many new contacts." This sounds much more professional and advanced compared to simply saying, "Good." Our next bad habit is using weak words. Let's say your boss asks if you can have the report finished by the end of the day. And you respond with, "I think so," or "I'll try." These are weak responses because they suggest you might not finish the job or fulfill the request. Instead of saying, "I think I can," change it to something more confident and stronger. Like, "I know I can finish the report by the end of the day." Or, "I promise I'll finish the report by the end of the day." You could also say, "You can count on me to finish the report by the end of the day." The next bad habit is using very basic words. Words like "good," "okay," and "fine" are very beginner level. They don't sound professional and don't make you seem confident either. By simply upgrading your vocabulary, you can improve your communication. Instead of saying, "The conference was good," try saying, "The conference was very beneficial." Then, you can move on to provide more information. As we discussed earlier regarding the first bad habit of using one-word answers. Now, let's move on to the next point. A bad habit you definitely want to avoid is speaking too quickly. Imagine I'm explaining something to you while speaking really fast. Do you think you would be able to understand me well? Probably not. A lot of students think they speak too slowly. But in my experience, most speak too fast. When you speak too fast, it's difficult for others to understand and follow your story. So, take a breath and add pauses in your speech. This will help you slow down and make your message clearer. Next, let's talk about word fillers. Fillers are words like, "well," you know, and like. These words don't add any real meaning to your sentence. But people use them while thinking about what to say next. Imagine you're in a meeting, and your boss asks you to update the team on the project. You respond with, "Well, the project's going pretty good, well, you know, we just need to." This doesn't sound professional, and you won't feel confident with all those fillers. Now, let's discuss eye contact. This can be tricky because cultural norms for eye contact vary. In North American culture, it is considered polite and professional to make eye contact with the person you're talking to. However, you don't need to maintain eye contact 100% of the time. It's perfectly fine to look away occasionally, but you should maintain eye contact at least 50% of the time. Next, let's talk about intonation. Intonation is the natural rise and fall of your voice when speaking. Our voices do this naturally. If I speak in a high pitch and then suddenly drop to a low pitch, only to rise again, it wouldn't sound very professional. On the other hand, if you speak in a monotone, using just one note throughout your speech, it can sound boring. You should try to vary your tone by incorporating both high and low notes. This keeps your speech engaging. Students often struggle with intonation, but you can practice through vocal exercises to become more dynamic in your speaking. When you lack enthusiasm, your intonation goes down, your volume decreases, and it seems as if you're tired, bored, or just not interested. Think about the enthusiasm you currently have in your voice. Part of showing enthusiasm and confidence is also reflected in your body language. Notice how I said when you lack enthusiasm. It's like being tired. When you're tired, you have a hard time keeping your body upright. This doesn't look professional, and it probably doesn't project confidence either. Similarly, people often speak while covering their body, which makes them appear small. This doesn't seem confident either. When you're confident, bring your shoulders back and take up as much space as your shoulders extend. Think of this as your communication box. Stay upright within this box when you're communicating. This will make you seem more confident. And it will help with your intonation and enthusiasm. When your body is crunched down, it impacts the intonation of your voice. By standing upright, you can express more enthusiasm and have a greater range in your intonation. So, remember, shoulders back and pay attention to your body language. Now, let's talk about hand gestures. Hand gestures are simply using your hands while you communicate. There are some things you want to avoid, like not using any hand gestures at all. If I did an entire video without hand gestures, maybe you could watch it for 30 seconds. But imagine watching it for 10 minutes where you don't see my hands at all. If my hands are still, most likely my body will start to sag, and I won't have good body language. However, when I bring my hands into the conversation, I'm more likely to keep my shoulders back. Remember, you want to stay within your communication box. You don't want your hands flailing around or being all over the place. Keep your hand gestures subtle and natural, close to the body but still active. This will help with your body language, make you look more confident, and appear more professional, because all professional speakers use their hands when they talk. If you avoid these 10 bad speaking habits, you will look instantly more professional and feel more confident. Which bad habit do you think you need to improve the most? Share that in the comments below. Now, let's move on and focus on improving your English. While reading, you'll also improve your grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Let's read a news article about the release of Disney's The Little Mermaid. Let's get started. Let me read the headline. The Little Mermaid makes box office splash with $95.5 million opening. First, let's talk about makes a splash. The phrase makes a splash here is used with box office splash to describe the type of impact it made. This is a fun idiom you can add to your speech. To make a splash means to attract a lot of attention. For example, you might say, Sarah really made a splash at the conference, meaning she gave a presentation that was engaging, interesting, and informative, and a lot of people were talking about her. She attracted a lot of attention, she made a splash. Do you know why they chose to use this idiom in the headline? It's also a joke, because splash has to do with water. And The Little Mermaid takes place in the water. Imagine I'm in water and doing this, splashing, if you were nearby. You'd say, Aria, stop splashing me. That's the literal definition, but idioms don't always follow the literal meaning. Here, they used the idiom because of the water connection. Splash literally means to move water, especially in the direction of someone or something. Kids love splashing in water, but adults enjoy it too. It's pretty fun. Let's continue. The Little Mermaid makes box office splash with $95.5 million opening. The article says, The Little Mermaid made moviegoers want to be under the sea all Memorial Day weekend. This is not an idiom, it's a joke, referencing one of the main songs from the movie, Under the Sea. Disney movies are known for their music, and this is one of the iconic songs. Next, let's look at moviegoers. A moviegoer is a noun that represents someone who goes to the movies. For example, I'm a moviegoer means I go to the cinema to watch movies. In North America, we often say, go to the movies, instead of, go to the cinema. So, a moviegoer is someone who goes to the theater, not someone who watches movies at home. Disney's live-action remake of its 1989 animated classic easily outswam the competition. Here's another water-related joke. This phrase is not an idiom either but is used in the literal context of competition. Outswam means to swim faster than someone else. When you add out in front of an action verb, it means to do better than someone at that action. For example, I outran someone means I ran faster than that person. Here, they used outswam because of the water reference, but it means that the film performed better than its competitors. Finally, the term remake means to make something again. The original Little Mermaid was released in 1989 as an animated film, but Disney has remade it as a live-action film. The original Little Mermaid was an animated cartoon, but now, of course, it features real people. Ariel and Ursula are portrayed by real actors. Obviously, Flounder, the fish, is still animated. This is the live-action remake. Regarding the verb, remake, you might say, I had to remake the cake. Maybe you were making a cake while watching one of my YouTube videos, and you forgot about it, so it burned in the oven, and you had to remake it. I had to remake the cake. You can use this verb in many different contexts. All right, moving on. Bringing in $95.5 million. Notice how I vocalize point in $95.5 million. I also vocalize the dollar sign as dollars. And remember, it's plural, there's more than $1. For example, $1 is singular. But $1 million is still singular for million because we don't add an s there. A lot of students say 2 millions. But it should be $2 million. The plural goes on dollars. The movie brought in $95.5 million on 4.320 screens in North America, according to studio estimates on Sunday. Let's take a closer look at according to. After according to, you need someone or something. For example, according to the report refers to something, while according to Jim, who wrote the report, refers to someone. Don't forget the preposition to, according to the report, or according to Jim. Before we continue, are you enjoying this lesson? Do you enjoy learning this way? Studying real-world context? If so, I'd like to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers in real-world contexts, such as TV, YouTube, movies, and news. You'll improve your listening skills and add common phrasal verbs, idioms, expressions, advanced vocabulary, and grammar to your speech. You'll also have me as your personal coach. If you'd like to join, check the description for more information. Now, let's continue. Disney estimates that the film, starring Halle Bailey as the mermaid Ariel and Melissa McCarthy as her sea witch nemesis Ursula, will reach $117.5 million by the time the holiday is over. That was a long sentence. Let's break it down. We have the film, and then additional information about the film. The main idea is, the film will reach this amount by the time the holiday is over. This is a nice advanced sentence structure. We have the future simple and then, by the time. Let's try that structure. By the time the week is over. It will rain. By the time the week is over refers to the last day of the week. And sometime between now and then, it will rain. Another example. I will buy a new bathing suit by the time I go on vacation. You can try your own sentence in the comments. Let's continue. The article states, it displaces Fast X in the top spot. They're talking about the Little Mermaid movie. Because of its strong performance, it displaced Fast X from the top spot. Fast X is the 10th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise starring Vin Diesel. However, the article says that it has lagged behind more recent releases in the series. When you lag behind, it means you're not performing as well as expected or moving slower than expected. This can apply to performance or to physical movement. For example, I might be running a race and notice my competitor is lagging behind. They're running slower than they can. It can also apply to transportation. A train could be lagging behind if it's not moving as quickly as it should due to a mechanical issue. In this case, lagging behind refers to the film's performance, not physical movement. Fast X brought in $23 million domestically for a 2-week total of $108 million for Universal Pictures. Notice here that 2-week has no s because it's an adjective. And adjectives don't have plural forms. For example, I went on a 2-week vacation. However, if I want to talk about the length of time, I would say, I went on vacation for 2 weeks. The time reference, 2 weeks, is plural. But when it's used as an adjective, it's not. The performance of The Little Mermaid represents something of a bounce back for Disney's animated to live-action remakes. Remember, they remade The Little Mermaid. It was originally animated. But now it's live action. Bounce back is another way of saying recovery. So, in this context, Disney's live-action remakes were struggling. But they've bounced back, meaning their performance is improving. We also use bounce back in a medical context. If someone is sick, but the doctor assures them it's not serious, they might say, "Don't worry, it's just a cold. You'll bounce back quickly." Bounce back here means recover quickly. In the context of The Little Mermaid, bounce back refers to the film's financial recovery, signaling that Disney may continue making more live-action remakes. The article mentions poor reception and the pandemic had impacted recent reboots. In this case, reboot is another word for remake, but remake is more commonly used. Reboot is often used in the context of restarting an electronic device. But here it means a new version of a film. In this context, they are using reboot to replace the word remake, meaning to make something again. However, this isn't how reboot is normally used. When you reboot a device, you power down your computer or phone, usually because it has some sort of bug or issue. Then, they might say, "Try rebooting it," which means to turn it off and turn it back on again. Recent reboots, essentially the same as remakes, are either performing poorly or skipping theatrical releases in favor of Disney+, including films like Dumbo, Mulan, and Pinocchio. These are 3 Disney movies that were remade into live-action films. But they didn't do very well. They didn't even go to theaters, they were released directly on Disney+, their streaming service. The decision to skip theatrical release was likely because they didn't expect these films to perform well in theaters. To skip something means to miss it, to not attend or not do it. For example, you might say, "I think I'm going to skip the party tonight," meaning you won't go. Or someone might say, "You can't skip the meeting today, the CEO will be there," meaning you can't miss it or avoid it. The opening of The Little Mermaid puts it in the top tier of Disney's remakes, with a similar performance to 2019's Aladdin. However, it fell well short of 2017's Beauty and the Beast, which opened to more than $170 million, and 2019's The Lion King, which brought in over $190 million in its first weekend. Have you seen any of these remakes? I've seen all 3, and I love Disney movies. I'm very excited to watch The Little Mermaid, though I'm not much of a moviegoer, so I'll watch it at home. What about you? Oh, and that's the end of the article. Now, I'll go back to the beginning and read it from start to finish so you can focus on my pronunciation. Let's start. The Little Mermaid makes a splash at the box office with a $95.5 million opening. The Little Mermaid made moviegoers want to be under the sea all Memorial Day weekend. Disney's live-action remake of its 1989 animated classic easily outswam the competition, bringing in $95.5 million on 4.320 screens in North America. According to studio estimates on Sunday, Disney estimates that the film, starring Halle Bailey as the mermaid Ariel and Melissa McCarthy as her sea witch nemesis Ursula, will reach $117.5 million by the time the holiday is over. It ranks as the 5th biggest Memorial Day weekend opening ever, displacing Fast X from the top spot. Fast X, the 10th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise starring Vin Diesel, has lagged behind more recent releases in the series. bringing in $23 million domestically for a two-week total of $108 million for Universal Pictures. The performance of The Little Mermaid represents something of a bounce back for Disney's animated to live-action remakes, making it likely they will keep coming indefinitely. Poor reception and the pandemic caused some recent reboots, like Dumbo, Mulan, and Pinocchio, to either perform poorly or skip theatrical releases in favor of Disney+. The opening puts The Little Mermaid in the top tier of Disney's remakes, with a performance similar to 2019's Aladdin, though it was well short of 2017's Beauty and the Beast and 2019's The Lion King. Now let's focus on phrasal verbs, as native speakers use them all the time. In this lesson, we'll focus on phrasal verbs with get, and you'll learn the top 40. At the end, there's a quiz. Let's begin. Get ahead. This means to make progress. Most commonly used in career or academic settings. For example, if you want to get ahead, you need fluent English. Do you agree with that? Put your answer in the comments. Get along. This means to have a good relationship with someone. I really get along with my boss. But it's also commonly used in the negative. I don't get along with my boss. Which describes you. Do you get along with your boss? Get away. This means to escape. For example, the criminal got away, meaning he escaped. It's also used in the sense of escaping from daily life. I really need to get away. Work has been so busy. And I don't get along with my boss. I need to get away. Another related phrasal verb is get away with something, which means doing something bad without being punished. She got away with stealing the car. Get off lightly. This means to be punished less severely than expected. She stole the car but got off lightly. She didn't go to prison. She only had to do community service. Get back. This means to return to a starting point. For example, I got back at 7 p.m. You can specify the place. What time did you get back home? It's commonly used when talking about vacations. What time did you get back from your trip to Italy? There's also the phrasal verb get back to someone, meaning to respond to someone. I need to get back to John, meaning John contacted you, but you haven't replied yet. Get back into something. This means to continue doing something you stopped for a while. I need to get back into playing guitar. Get back at someone. This means to take revenge. He didn't answer John's question, so John might try to get back at him by telling others he's unhelpful. Get behind something or someone. This means to support something or someone. I can really get behind that new policy. Get by. This means to manage with what you have. Often used when talking about minimal resources or abilities. Get by means having just enough resources to survive. We most commonly use this with financial resources. For example, with inflation, I can barely get by. This means you can pay your bills, mortgage, and buy groceries, but just enough. At the end of the month, you might have $1 or $2 left in your account. You're just getting by. 10. To get into trouble. I'm sure you're familiar with this one. When you get into trouble, it means you enter a situation where you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, hence the trouble. Kids get into trouble all the time, which is why you don't leave them at home without adult supervision. They'll end up drawing on the walls with crayons or eating all the cookies in the fridge. They're bound to get into trouble. 11. To get on. This is used when you board or enter certain modes of transportation. You can get on a plane, a train, a boat, or a bus. For example, I got on the plane means you entered the plane. Get on is also used as an expression to indicate that someone is becoming old. My grandma is getting on, meaning my grandma is now quite old. Because she's getting on in years. She may have difficulty getting on a plane. 12. To get off. The opposite of getting on. If you're on the plane, you'll eventually get off the plane. Remember, you only get off certain types of transportation: planes, trains, boats, and buses. For example, this is my stop. I need to get off the bus. Or, get off the train. For vehicles like cars, vans, or trucks, you get in and get out of them. I got in my car. Or, I got out of my car. Don't confuse these with get on and get off. We also use get in when entering a room, building, house, or location. This is very common at work. A coworker might ask, "What time did you get in?" Meaning, "What time did you enter the office?" You can also use this phrase to ask what time someone started their workday. Entering the office building usually marks the start of work. Although the opposite of in is out. We have an expression, get off, which means to end work for the day. For example, someone might ask, "What time do you get off today?" Or, "What time are you getting off tomorrow?" This means, what time do you finish work for the day?